Okay, so today we're going to um, dive into something that's been getting a lot of buzz lately.
Yeah.
This whole idea of like an AI billionaire class.
Right.
And, when we think about billionaires, like what usually comes to mind?
Oh, yeah, like, the big mansions, the yachts, private jets, all that kind of stuff.
Exactly, like all the super flashy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But what if the real, like, power players of the future,
Yeah.
the ones with the real wealth,
Right.
what if their assets look totally different?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question.
Like way less tangible.
Yeah, and that's precisely what we're going to explore today in this deep dive.
Right.
We're going to be looking at some sources that suggest that the very foundations of wealth, those are undergoing a radical transformation. Like
Where?
if we look back through history, we've seen some major shifts.
Yeah.
It started with owning land. That
Yeah.
was like the ultimate power move.
Right, like if you had the land, you had it all.
Exactly. And then things moved on. Control of industrial machinery became the big thing.
Oh, yeah, all those factories.
Exactly. And then more recently, it's been all about mastering code and software.
Like the whole digital revolution.
Precisely. And these sources, they suggest we're on the brink of another one of these seismic shifts.
So what's going to be like the next big thing then?
Well, it seems like the very definition of a valuable asset is being redefined.
Oh, wow. Okay, so what is this source saying about like who's going to be calling the shots in this new AI era?
It's really fascinating. They're saying, forget about the old school industrial giants, or even the tech moguls who built today's digital empires.
Right, like they're yesterday's news.
Yeah, basically.
So who are these new power players?
Well, the source suggests this new form of wealth, it's not tied to physical stuff.
Not even like a massive workforce?
Nope, it's something different.
Okay, I'm really curious now.
So, are you ready for this?
Yeah, hit me.
The source says the wealthiest individuals in this AI era are going to be those who build with knowledge, earn through intelligence, and scale through agents.
Okay, so break that down for me.
Sure, so it's like they're saying it's not about starting with a pile of cash.
Okay.
It's about knowing how to use knowledge and intelligence in a really strategic way.
To create wealth.
Exactly.
And it's not just about like being smart.
No, it's a very specific kind of approach.
Okay.
And the source even calls these people knowledge-first capitalists.
Okay, so they're not just capitalists, they're like knowledge-first capitalists.
Yeah, there's a distinction there.
I like that term.
And get this.
What?
The source claims that you, our listener, you're actually hearing about this pretty early on.
Oh, wow. So we're like ahead of the curve here.
That's what they're suggesting.
I mean, it's a pretty bold statement, right?
Yeah, it is bold.
But it also makes sense. Like this whole AI thing, it's still pretty new.
It is. It's still in its early stages.
So we could be witnessing like a massive economic shift.
Yeah, definitely a possibility.
Okay, so let's dive a little deeper into this AI billionaire idea.
Sure.
Like what exactly makes someone an AI billionaire according to this source?
Right. It's not just about having money in a future where AI is everywhere.
Right, like just because you have a robot butler doesn't make you an AI billionaire.
Exactly. There's more to it.
Yeah, what are the defining characteristics?
Well, they paint a pretty specific picture.
Okay.
Firstly, an AI billionaire, in this context, builds or controls intelligent systems.
Okay, so they're not just using AI, they're creating it.
Right, or at least they have a lot of control over it.
Okay, so it's about being the architect.
Exactly.
Edit.
And secondly, they use knowledge as their primary form of capital.
So like their understanding is their biggest asset.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And that ability to apply information effectively, that's what drives their wealth creation.
So it's not just about having information, it's about knowing how to use it.
That's the key.
Okay, so it's not just about deploying AI to do tasks, it's about understanding how to leverage knowledge within those systems.
Precisely.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
And there are other key aspects as well.
Oh yeah, what else?
This is a big one. They have the ability to turn user behavior and engagement into automated revenue streams.
Okay, so they're not just selling products or services, they're creating systems where users interacting is generating wealth automatically.
That's the idea.
It's like a whole new business model.
Right. It's a shift from traditional sales.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this is different.
And another interesting point, the source emphasizes using agents instead of employees.
Okay, so not like a traditional workforce.
Right. It's about creating systems that can scale without needing a huge team of people.
So it's like super efficient.
Exactly.
That's a huge contrast to how most businesses grow, right?
Right. Usually it's about hiring more people, getting bigger offices, all that.
Yeah, but this is different.
It's about leverage.
So these AI billionaires, they're like the masterminds behind these systems.
Right. They're the strategists, the prompt engineers.
So their assets aren't physical. They're like their skills, their knowledge.
Precisely, and the source sums it up really well. They say the core assets of these AI billionaires are attention plus data plus automation.
Attention plus data plus automation.
It's a powerful combination.
Okay, so let's talk about this intelligence capital idea.
Sure.
Because the source really emphasizes this term.
Do they even capitalize it?
So what does it actually mean?
So intelligence capital, it represents the value you create by owning or influencing systems of intelligence.
Okay, so it's not just about being smart. It's about having a stake in these AI systems.
Exactly. And it's the economic output that comes from your ability to guide these systems.
To make them work for you.
Right.
Can you give us some examples of what this intelligence capital looks like in practice?
Sure. The source give a few interesting ones.
Okay.
Like imagine owning an AI agent that can automatically provide and sell legal services.
Oh, wow. So the AI is doing the work and you're reaping the rewards.
That's the idea.
Okay, that's cool.
Or think about a network of users who are training AI agents. And you have influence over that training process.
So you're shaping how these AIs learn.
Right, and that influence, that's a form of intelligence capital.
Oh, I see.
Or even simpler, holding tokens that give you voting rights in an AI ecosystem.
So you have a say in how those systems develop.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
And this one might surprise you, even creating educational content that AI systems learn from.
Wait, so the AI is learning from your content and that's valuable?
That's what they're saying.
That's wild.
It's like your knowledge is being amplified by these AI systems.
And that amplification is creating value.
Right.
Okay, that's really interesting.
It's a whole new way of thinking about education and knowledge.
So it's not just about humans learning anymore, it's about AI learning too.
Exactly. And that learning process itself can generate value for the person who created the content.
Wow. Okay, so once you have these intelligence systems up and running, do you still have to be super hands-on?
That's the beauty of it. Once the networks are in place, they can scale without you constantly needing to intervene.
Oh, wow. So it's like setting up a system that runs itself.
Right. The source uses this great analogy. They compare it to real estate that thinks, markets, improves, and sells itself.
That's a powerful image.
It is.
So you're not just making money, you're creating a system that generates wealth on autopilot.
Exactly. It's like passive income, but on a whole new level.
Okay, so we're talking about a new class of wealthy individuals.
Right.
That are not sitting on piles of cash or physical assets.
No, their wealth is tied to these intelligent systems.
And the source we're looking at today doesn't just talk about this trend in theory.
Right. They actually highlight a specific entity.
Called X365.
That's the one.
So what's the connection between X365 and this whole AI billionaire class idea?
Well, according to the source, X365 presents itself as more than just a platform.
It's like a pathway.
They call it the world's first on-chain ladder to intelligence-based wealth.
Okay, on-chain. So that probably means it uses blockchain technology, right?
Most likely, yeah.
To track ownership and progress within the system.
Right. And blockchain also provides transparency and security.
Okay, so it's like a verifiable system.
Exactly.
So this on-chain ladder, it sounds like there are different levels you can climb.
Yeah, it's a tiered system.
So how do you actually start climbing this ladder?
Well, the first steps seem pretty accessible.
Okay.
It starts with things like airdropped tokens.
Oh, so you'd get some free tokens just for joining?
That's the idea.
Okay.
And then there's a referral system to encourage growth.
So the more people you bring in, the more you benefit.
Exactly.
Wow.
And then there are daily micro-engagements within the platform.
Micro-engagement, so like small tasks or activities?
Yeah, little things you do every day to contribute.
Okay.
And they also mention quantum mining habits.
Quantum mining habit.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what that means, but it sounds interesting.
Yeah, it does.
But based on the context, it probably involves consistent actions that build up your intelligence stack.
Okay, so it's all about being active on the platform.
Right.
So the barriers to entry are pretty low, it seems.
Yeah, they want to make it easy for people to get started.
So once you're in, what's next?
The next phase is where you really start engaging with the AI capabilities of the platform.
Okay, so that's where it gets interesting.
You start activating AI agents earning through a multi-level referral system.
Multi-level. So you earn from the people you refer and the people they refer.
Exactly. Go up to 10 levels.
Wow, that's a lot of levels.
It is.
Okay, what else?
They have an academy where you can learn more about AI and the platform.
So it's like built-in education.
Exactly.
Smart.
And then you can use their AI tools to solve real-world problems.
Oh, so you're actually applying what you learn.
Right. It's all about practical application.
Okay, so this stage is all about actively learning, expanding your network, and using AI skills.
That's the gist of it.
And the ultimate goal is to become like a self-sustaining force in this ecosystem,
Exactly.
to build momentum and compound your efforts over time.
You got it.
They even compared to those early adopters of other big technologies.
Right, like early Google employees or Bitcoin pioneers.
People who got in on the ground floor.
And they reaped the rewards.
So the source is saying those who get involved with X365 early, they have the potential to gain a lot of influence.
They could be the ambassadors of AI capitalism.
It's like a whole new wave of wealth creation.
Precisely.
And they make an interesting point about traditional forms of capital being slow to adapt.
Right. They argue that institutions like hedge funds and banks, they might not fully grasp things like prompt engineering or building AI agents.
Like the skills that are becoming really important in this AI world.
Exactly.
So traditional financial expertise might not be enough anymore.
Yeah. The game is changing.
And the source says, this is where our listeners have an advantage.
They say this is your edge.
Because if you already understand things like virality, online communities, or how to work with AI.
You're ahead of the curve.
So for someone who's listening and is thinking, okay, that sounds amazing. How do I get started?
The source provides a pretty clear action plan.
Okay, lay it out for us.
First, claim any available tokens.
Got it.
Then dive into their academy and learn all about AI.
Okay, education first.
And then focus on referring others, building your network.
Leverage that 10-level referral system.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then start training or licensing your own AI agents.
So become a creator yourself.
Right, and pay attention to their token rewards and commission structures.
Maximize your earnings.
Precisely.
And they emphasize consistent daily participation, right?
They recommend dedicating about a year to these activities.
So it's a long-term commitment?
It is, but they suggest it's worth it.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've talked about the AI billionaire class, the concept of intelligence capital, and the role X365 might play in all of this.
It's been a fascinating deep dive.
So as we wrap up, what are the key takeaways here?
Well, the biggest one is this idea that the nature of wealth is changing.
It's not about physical assets anymore.
Right. It's about algorithms, networks, and influence within these intelligent systems.
And the source is pretty confident that these intelligence billionaires are going to be a major force.
They seem to think it's inevitable.
And X365 is positioning itself as a way for individuals to get in early.
To be a part of this new model of wealth creation.
Before it becomes mainstream.
Exactly.
So the message is clear. Get involved early, learn the skills, build your network, and become an active participant.
That's the path to accumulating intelligence capital, according to this source.
So they end with a really thought-provoking statement. They say that the future won't be owned by those with the most money,
but by those with the most intelligence capital.
That's a powerful idea.
It really makes you rethink what true power and wealth will mean in the years to come.
It challenges our traditional understanding of these concepts.
And it leaves us with a really interesting question.
Yeah, what's that?
How will you, our listener, start building your own intelligence capital in this new world?
It's something we all need to think about.
Definitely, it's a conversation that's just beginning.
And we're glad you joined us for this deep dive into this fascinating topic.
Me too.
Until next time.
See you then.